Hello World Civ 106, welcome to week 2. And I just want to say that so far the work that I've been able to grade, most of you are getting it down well. So if you're getting full points, if I didn't write anything, I still looked at it, and that means awesome, good job. Sometimes I am writing comments. I'll write more always if you need more, if you want more feedback, to be clear. But in any case, there's other students that have been having some difficulties, and they're doing the one thing that's always going to work best when there's a problem: contact your professor. So they're writing to me, giving me a phone call, I get a text, and we're able to resolve questions of confusion about content, issues with the textbook, getting a textbook, or just not understanding some of the instructions. So please, if you're a person that's embarrassed or uncomfortable to do that, I really want to encourage you to make sure that you contact me, because that's how we're going to resolve anything. Okay. And in the first week, I really try to add some flexibility. Just keep in mind again that we're doing 3 chapters a week, and so it's easy to get overwhelmed with work and have a landslide come at you if you don't stay on top of it. Okay. So having said that, I think that you're going to find this week really interesting. Not every section that we're going to do goes so well together. We're doing ancient Egypt, and then ancient Israel and Judaism. And these really do have a nice complement in terms of the history and the subject matter. So, some weeks when we're bouncing all over the globe into very different spheres, your mind's going to start really getting overwhelmed. And that's not something we can always prevent in a cram course. But for this week, it's a lot of information, but it's still somewhat related. So one of the things that I really love doing is getting everyone to have their minds grasp around the idea that Egypt had more than just pharaohs and pyramids only. And I talk about pre-Christian Egypt. Now, this is a term that's not really in the textbook, I don't think ever, and it's rarely ever used. And so far, we will talk about Christianity later, but we haven't even actually covered the history of Christianity. Why I like to pose that question or put that up in a topic is because most people don't associate Egypt with anything but the pyramids, like I said, and pharaohs, and certainly not with Christianity at all. Now, currently, Egypt it's mainly an Arabic-speaking, mainly Muslim society now. Okay, currently. But for centuries, it was hugely influential on the development of Christianity. And that's something that I also want you to just kind of think about and pause about. And I also want to say something when we talk about religion. Please, when I start talking to somebody who is a practicing Jewish person, Christian or Muslim in particular, because of a lot of theological conflicts that takes place now, people tend to say, well, is that true Christianity? Right? You're looking at it through the lens of theology. I want you to pull back and be a historian. And so Christianity as it existed for centuries seems very foreign to a lot of Protestant Christianity. So a lot of you who are going to kind of the church with the big screens, the what do you call it? What's the term? Not super church, but mega churches, right? Or if you go down to a little tiny small one with just your kind of soft-spoken preacher, that Protestant tradition Christianity teaches you to be Bible-based. That's it. Bible-based Christianity. And you don't really have this understanding that whether that's true or not, we're not going to resolve in this class. But for centuries, if you ask somebody what a Christian was, they would look and they would point to places like Egypt, and there would be major influential characters there. And that's what it would be associated with, or in other parts of the Mediterranean world. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? That's what I want you to look at. Now, I separate ancient Israel from Judaism because I also see those as fundamentally different. And for those of you who grow up Christian or Muslim, I want to invite you to kind of pause for a moment and ask yourself, if you're just looking at Jewish history through the Bible or the Quran, you're going to be missing out a lot on understanding Jewish civilization, Jewish culture, and ancient Israel, or you're going to have a very limited view. I'm not saying you're having a wrong view. I'm saying you're going to have a limited view. Because keep in mind that the Bible, the Old Testament, is often God's prophets being sent to tell kings and people that they're doing things wrong. And they're portraying their society in a very negative light, or there's a critique going on, right? Okay? And there's a lot going on in that part of the world outside of the concerns of biblical prophets, okay? And if you're a Christian and you read the New Testament, the Pharisees are simply bad. These are people who reject Jesus. But in modern day Jewish life, Pharisees are pretty much the branch of Judaism that evolved into creating what Judaism is today, okay? And it's beyond the scope of whether or not they rejected Jesus as being the Messiah or not. Keep in mind that there were many Jewish leaders who claimed to be the Messiah. And that's also sometimes hard for Christians and even Muslims to understand, is that that Jews look at that topic in a very different light. While for Christians and for Muslims, it's obvious. Oh, you should have understood that Jesus was the Messiah in their religions. And by the way, Christians, you might not have known that. You'll learn later. Yes, Muslims do believe that Jesus is the Messiah. But that's a whole other topic, which we'll get to later. We will learn about the Talmud, a very important piece of literature within the Jewish world. If you have a friend that goes to a conservative synagogue, which is actually not really conservative, it's quite liberal, but it's called the conservative branch, or the Reform, or Reconstructionist, or hasn't been around Judaism that much. So if you're of a person of a Jewish background that doesn't go to an Orthodox branch of Judaism and go to a study at a yeshiva or some place like that, this will be new information as well. So I'm hoping that all of you will find this to be very informative and enjoyable. Now, one last thing that I'm going to say, and I'll end here, and I do address this in some of the lectures. I cover secular historical views of these things as well, and that is almost always at odds with a believer's view of the history. And so I want to remind you again that I'm educating you about a consensus view within the branches of the secular world. When you participate in this class, it doesn't mean that you believe in that and that you've rejected your own faith if you haven't. So you're going to be surprised. Most Israeli archaeologists, Jewish Israeli archaeologists, don't believe that the book of Joshua is accurate history. That's where it's at. So you're going to be exposed to that. You're going to know why. Okay? So you don't have to, I'm not telling you what you should think, but I'm just at least giving you exposed to this history. Okay? Please, again, feel free to contact me if you have added questions or you want any more information or anything like that. And I hope you're having a great week. As always mentioned, contact me if you need anything.